place. And there we go. And we're gonna focus that. And basically we're gonna focus that way. So again, we are going to get things on the go here. And we were gonna do a YouTube channel, but we decided not to. So again, we're gonna get. Oh, here we go again. Sorry about this, guys. I had it working. Okay, there we go. We just had to boost it. And sorry about that, guys. And we're gonna hit the this part of it. Ooh, good. I can sit down now. Ooh, got a rash. I always hate those rashes, right? And for some reason, everything is not working as the way I expect it to. So again, I'm gonna move that up. Again. Oh. Okay, so you guys can see me, and you guys can see inside Hunter's cabin. Oh, you guys can still see me. For some reason, this is doesn't want to. Always wants to freeze. Are we gonna lay in front of that now since we got it working? So you guys, so anyhow, for some reason this is gonna freeze too much here, but again, you seen how I brought the construction belt out and the construction helmet, and so anyhow that is part of the hunter's cabin this year as well, and. There's a lot of goodies. Yeah, I'm gonna add to it this year. But like I said, this is the last final year for Hunter's Cabin, and that too. So we finally got the electric fireplace working. But I'm gonna turn off camera too. It I tell you where you go, bud. Do not go anywhere to freak me out. You scare the heck out of me. So anyhow, we're gonna end the other camera. We're going to leave you on with the haunted fireplace. So feel free to keep following. And, okay, where'd you go? That doesn't sound good, bud. At all does that sound good. I hear your bell. Do not freak me out. Do not knock heads off of things. Hey! Get down from the TV! Hey! Again, we're gonna shut that. We're shutting the camera too down, guys, because it's somebody's playing peekaboo, and mine's kind of. I guess for some reason my laptop is freezing. This is. I do apologize. This is so ridiculous. That kind of stuff. So again, I'm gonna like that. Okay, bud, get down. Be good. Okay, you made your point. You scared the hell out of me. I'm in behind my TV. Hey, get down. 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 Get down. So anyhow, I'm gonna shut this one down because this one here, it is freezing too bad. I've never ever had a problem with this with my laptop, and we're gonna have to get that YC out of that. Why that's freezing and that. You're not getting no treats tonight after supper, babies. No, no, you're not. You want treats after supper? I suggest you come down off the table and behind that TV. You come on down if you want treats for supper. After supper, you come on down. So again, I move my chair back a bit. And so anyhow, we got the haunted fireplace going of Hunter's Cabin. And so again, you see me bring the construction helmet out and that, and the tool belt. That sanctifies part of Hunter's Cabin. So, again, it is kind of basically tells the thing of the building construction legend part of it, and that. So, but this year we're live here in Hunter's Cabin. But this year it is kind of a different. We're not at the really spooky part yet, guys. We will when we get closer to Halloween. But again, we do have the haunted fireplace going, electric fireplace, and that. So it can really get really dark. We were going to do a bit of a pre-YouTube recording, and that kind of stuff too. So and that'll probably Devil's Night. But we did cancel. One of the props we were going to use for stage props for Hunter's Cabin, which is a big main part of Hunter's Cabin, and which is basically spiritual communications, and that's where you actually communicate with anything that is haunting or haunting the place. So, due to the fact that there is what you call again, we're in a decade where there is mixed people on Facebook, and we do not want to offend anybody's Christian's belief of any kind, because the spiritual tool we were going to use could offend a lot of church-going people. And we do not want to be. We don't want to be. We could sit here like the other live streamers and actually offend them and not care. But this show we've kind of limited ourselves this year not to use certain tools because we do not want to offend anybody as much as possible. So we want to keep. Excuse me for a minute. Get down. Rip off heads on Halloween, not before. Cats. So, and so again, because there's a lot of Christian beliefs out there, and we don't want to cross certain guidelines. So again, we're not like the psychic shows that will actually overstep the perimeter and use a spiritual tool, communication tool, and actually offend them. So, and not care about it. So, like I said, like we do have our limitations. So that spiritual tool is going to be part of the haunted house, but it is not going to be. What we're gonna do is if we do use it. You won't actually see anybody using it if it is out for the haunted house, by the way. It will be somewhere in the haunted house, guys. We are going to have it in the haunted house, yes, but what I meant by canceling it is we're canceling of actually speaking through it. We're actually going to set. Hey, leave the furniture alone. Go into your mama's room and scratch her furniture to hell. Leave mine alone. Mine's too expensive. And heavenly sent. Be good. And so again, we want to respect other people's backgrounds and that kind of stuff. But I'm not saying it is not going to be in the Hunter's Cabin haunted house. It is going to be in the haunted house. But you won't see anybody actually sitting there dialing up through it, talking through it, or communicating through it. You may not even really see it in the dark anyway, so I mean, it'll be hidden. It'll be there, but it'll be camouflaged. It'll be like camouflaged. We'll invisibilize it, and we'll camouflage it, so that way you don't see it. And that so which is gonna give you actually at least the spooky sense. But if we do the actual spiritual communication, it won't be done on live Facebook stream. So that'll actually be done when we're off stream or off camera. That'll be a separate group. That will not be live streamed. And the group that is here, that is going to join me and having the spiritual communication night, probably Devil's Night, will be assured that they cannot live video stream or live videotape to YouTube for that particular night, and that kind of stuff. So that way the spiritual communication board alone is staying confidential. So a lot of psychics do come on here with theirs for protection of offending people. It is something they should have really kept in behind closed office doors, more or less, that kind of thing. That should never ever be publicized on Facebook, and that kind of thing, because those things can get a little. Like I said, I doesn't offend me, but again, there is actual Christian people out there it will offend. So it will be that totally have a total dislike and hate for it. So, and could probably make up better horror stories than Stephen King or Hunter's Cabin here. Some of these Christian people, you'd be surprised some of the horror stories they tell about these things. Even if even if they witness true things about the spiritual things about them or not, we can't say if they're lying or they're not lying. We can't say if they really work, if they don't work. We can't really put a judgment call on that. I don't think they really can either, but they do. So that's what I said. It's very, very, very funny. So again, it is something we can't really say if it's really powerful. If it is not powerful, there's really no yes or no answer to it. Until you actually experience after you've actually experienced something. But even if the people that claim that they've experienced something too, some of them people look at them like they're Looney Tunes. So again, like I said, it is one of those things. Even though they are a cool science test, if you want to call it, it's like a science project. Or spiritual testing of any kind, or experiment. It is something that should be kept kind of in an office. That shouldn't really be live streamed. I know they've been publicized a lot in horror movies and that kind of thing, and with Hollywood fiction, and with special effects behind it. But to not take any chances with them, I think usually a lot of psychics don't really think that that it's just so they don't offend the Christian community that is out there, because they are in our society. We do have to live around them, unfortunately. And they like to ruin everything, all the fun. But end of it, but partially we can't say if they're right or if they're wrong. There's no true answer when it comes down to spirituality. It is one of those. There's really no yes or no questions on that one. But yeah, I know. I love psychics. Like I love going to psychic fair. I used to love going to all the psychic fairs and everything else like that when they had them in the big cities. And you see all the psychics come out with their card readings. You see all the psychics come out with the Ouija boards, all that kind of stuff. And but a lot of those psychics that do a lot of those psychic readings. Even there's a lady I know that I went to high school with. I'm not talking about my friend in Peterborough that passed away with cancer after my mom went. But there's a bunch of girls I went to high school with as a kid. Man, I was like Elvis of the whole high school type thing. When I was in high school in the big cities, like I was technically, girl. Like when I was in high school, girls were kind of glued to me like construction paper. So like I said, growing up there, but there was one that I was really good friends with, and she went on to college and university, and she actually became a full-time psychic, and she took Wiccan studies and everything else like that, and white magic and witchery and secret societies. So. We stayed as we were kind of pretty good friends. That's all we were when we were in high school. We were just friends. We were even into cadet. Funny thing was, we were both in cadets together too. And then now she travels. Travels the world big time. And she hasn't physically traveled the whole entire world yet, but she's traveled across Canada, and of all four corners of the compass, or what we call the Wicca Square. She was also she was also a camp counselor of mine at Camp All Rights too as a kid, and so she knows her spiritual stuff. So she knows everything with spirituality, Christianity to Wiccan to everything. So again, like I said, she's a full certified psychic now today. And I forget what her name is now. It is and that kind of thing. But she was always been a good friend of mine, and that. So she has her own office. She does have her own office down in Peterborough. I'm now living in Wyerton, Ontario, on the South Goose Peninsula, and that. So I haven't lived in Peterborough now for years, But like I said, like it is wonderful. Like I've gotten around, I've traveled, and and that kind of thing. And I've seen things too as a kid, and spiritual things as a kid too. So so basically I can't really say if it's real, if it isn't real or not. Relating back to my childhood camp experience, I went to this community camp. I'm not Catholic, but I went to this community. My mother was a single mother on welfare and that thing at the time. When I was growing up as a kid, and I was living at home with her and that kind of thing. As I was growing up as in my childhood, and she bused me off to this community camp, which was actually the camp councils. The actual camp itself was operated by the Catholic Church, but like I said, I was not Catholic, but it was a community camp for kids that wanted to go away to a community what do you call it? Community United Nation type camp, United Way type camp. Sorry, not United Nation, United Way, and which is actually owned and operated by the actual camp itself is, and each kid that went for $10. I was one of those welfare kids when I was a kid living in housing, and as a kid every summer went to this camp, and Camp Norlights. I remember it was a nice camp as a kid. My memory's starting to come back now. As a kid, I was a little kid, and it's funny because I'm not Catholic, and
so going to this camp, to the community camp, so it didn't matter, and but it was through the St. Vincent de Paul um, agency, which is almost like what you call a charitable, a non-profit charitable charity organization. But St. Vincent de Paul is not like Salvation Army. It is, everybody thinks it's like Salvation Army. It is way different than a Salvation Army. It is operated by my wife's background that I'm married to today, and which is ran up by the actual Catholic Church. It runs the St. Vincent de Paul, which is a community of volunteers and that kind of thing that provides a lot of kids that are growing up in what you call single home, kids that are left at home with a single mother and kids. So I mean, and it's like one of those support agencies, and it's almost a little bit like Big Brothers and Big Sisters and that kind of those nonprofit United Way type groups that I was involved in, and it was a big community thing where they actually support you to go to camp and that kind of thing every summer. They used to pay for you to go to your parents would pay $10 or $15 to send you to camp or whatever if you're eligible to go. And it doesn't matter if you're Catholic or you're non-Catholic. The camp does not operate on religious principles, or does not operate like St. Vincent de Paul community camps do not operate like Salvation Army camps do. It does not operate on like Salvation Army would on a totally religious Bible pushing beliefs. It basically runs on community. On your community and that kind of thing. Us kids used to go, and they used to get put on a bus, and we used to have a good time. But they used to tell us ghost stories and everything else like that. But again, it's not like Salvation Army where it is Bible cramming type camp. It is a community focused camp, and it's charitable operated camp, and kids from all over Ontario or Canada can go to it, and that it's in Haliburton, Bob Cajun. But they introduced to me this one story, A Hunter's Cabin, and that always stayed with me, because after I came home from that camp, I had nightmares for months, and they never leave you. It's bad enough I got over those. Like today, I could sit back and I could watch horror movies, and they don't bother me. I could sit here and I could watch a massacre movie; it won't bother me. And and I could sleep like a baby at night. Back those days, I could not, because I heard spiritual things and seen spiritual things in the woods and close encounters and that kind of stuff as a kid. But I've already mentioned that in the last 2,500 videos. Or started up last year. So again, I wanted to basically take my experience. Now I'm older. I'm 37 years of age, and going on 38. I think I was roughly about 9 or 10 years of age at the time, just around the same time as I was in Boy Scouts and all that. And I did not I did not go to Army Cadets till after that, until 1992. Well, 1992. 1993. So about 12 or 13 years of age, I went into the Army Cadets. So, which kind of broke a lot of that fear out of me. Which does a lot of wonders, because I always thought military organizations would drill more fear into you than into your feet. I think basically what broke that fear, I think, is because having to deal with teenagers around at that time. When I was a teenager, I was about 12 or 13. I had to deal with sergeants and COs that were around the same age as I was, and that were basically at the same age level, in your face 24/7, yelling and swearing, and running you up and down hills and doing push-ups, doing sit-ups. It was like, even though we were in Army Cadets or Air Cadets in a youth introductory program to the military, I never even made the Canadian Armed Forces because I couldn't pass the aptitude test when I got old enough. But it was one of those. But see, I did kind of things differently because I got hooked into um, I got hooked into LL 457, and because I couldn't join any of the Catholic stuff because or the Catholic groups because I was not because of the fact I am not Catholic or was not born and raised Catholic. I was born and raised Protestant. But this community camp, they didn't care if you were Catholic or you're non-Catholic. It was a camp that would let you, that single mothers would let their kids go, and to it. So no matter what background you are, you gotta go to it. And Hunter's Cabin is kind of one of the ones that kind of gave me one big kick in the arse. I'll tell you that one now. So I sit here and I look at the flame. I look again, like I said, this is an electric fireplace, guys. This is not a real fireplace. I got my electric fireplace working again. Woo-hoo, I just did a booster. I think I got a booster all the time now. And so again, it's going to get me through another cold season. And winter season coming up. Halloween, hopefully it'll get us through. I might have to keep boosting it every time I turn it on. And so it can be peaceful, but as dark falls in Hunter's Cabin is a very horographical legend. And today we would look at it as today we would see it as not being today, because now it was based on true events that did happen at one point. Yes, at one time. So if you go back 1,700 years, it was a story that really happened. But today it is a widely spoken out true ghost legend, campfire legend, and that will actually make you shit your pants. It did mine because I actually wet my sleeping bag at camp when I was a kid, because some of the things after the story was told, some of the spiritual things I saw and close encounter. So like I said, there is no there's a fact that the images are there. They're proven to be there. They're scientifically proven that they are there and they're around us, but they were not as harmful as they were when they first came back in 1700s, 1800s. Also, too, it goes Hunter's Cabin. People get confused with Sleepy Hollow. Hunter's Cabin is technically, if you really want to look at it, Hunter's Cabin is way worse than Sleepy Hollow, but it happened around the same in the 1800s during the same wartime as the French Indian War and British War, and in 1812, during the 1700s in 1812. So like I said, it all happened at the same time. And Sleepy Hollow that Washington Irving talked about all happened at the same time, around the same time frame. Now, how they're different is because Hunter's Cabin talks about the imaging of the apparition imaging. Yes, is a little bit the same, but I can honestly say yes, a little bit is the same, but there is no copyright. If you to speak of Hunter's Cabin today around an actual campfire, because Hunter's Cabin, it was never ever written into a book or never been published, because it's been guarded by several secret society cults have sat on that legend for years and will not let it out. They're slowly today starting to open up and share it. Which started in 1989, 1990. We were the guinea pigs. We were the kid campers it was tested on. And but like I said, Sleepy Hollow itself was published. Washington Irving stuff was published to publications and was copyrighted. But Hunter's Cabin was never got that far because on how bad Hunter's Cabin was, the hauntings of Hunter's Cabin and the historical cabin, on how bad the hauntings were, and how powerful how powerful Hunter's Cabin really is, and how evil Hunter's Cabin really is. it carries a generational. Well, a lot of churches will talk about what you call a generational curse, and Hunter's Cabin can cause that generational curse spiritually on people, and because it is a legend about two twin native headless, two twin Indian headless brothers that actually did their own heads off, and that kind of thing, with a double-edged axe. And they started terrorizing campers, tourists that stepped foot on the campgrounds or even the grounds of Hunter's Cabin, or tried to sleep in Hunter's Cabin. Again, at the haunting, when the cabin would start to haunt, the doors would actually lock itself, and some spiritual force would lock you in. And if you go back 1,700 years, now we're going back here, sharing a little bit of what it would be like 1,700 years ago, and what we vision, what we think it might have happened, and some spiritual identity force, some evil force that was done up by witchery, because Hunter's Cabin talks about a lot of witchcraft that went on seance grounds. Where Camp Northern Lights today sits in the Bobcaygeon and Halliburton down in the Peterborough area, and that before it was a kids' camp, and that kind of stuff, because there was a lot of cult activity, that was spiritual cult activity that went on those grounds before it became a kids' camp itself, and was built around the Wicker Square, and that why it sits north-south side of the cemetery of the Wicker Square, which is way off, either down the Hunter's Cabin pathway, and then there's a bit of a bridge, and then there's a stone tablet, not a stone tablet, walkway, a ramp when you come to the shore, and coming off the lake, and goes right up to Hunter's Cabin. Now, Hunter's Cabin is very historical, because when Hunter's Cabin comes to life, it haunts on its own time, and usually about the night hours when it starts haunting, and the apparitions first came back, the walls started bleeding, and the shutters started creaking, and the shutters started slamming shut and open shut, and you would hear footsteps in the cabin, spiritual footsteps in the cabin at night. And if you were brave enough to sleep in the cabin, and things would happen in that cabin, and people, every camper that would step foot in that cabin would disappear, would go missing. And a legend also says about Ian, or Ivan. Talks about more about Ian. Sorry, like I've shared, Ian was also on top of when his apparition came back. He was also a witch. He was very powerful in witchcraft, and he could turn around. He could reappear from a headless apparition to from a headless Indian rider, and into an actual apparition, an alien, animal, whatever. And Ivan couldn't do all that, but Ian could. Had those ability of powers, but he would help his twin apparition, and that's what kind of spooked me at Camp Northern Lights in the tent, because the image of the blonde-haired man that showed up was not a registered counselor and that kind of thing. He wasn't even human. And you could it was paranormally proven that right in front of us, the apparition would change. And when I was a kid freaking out in front of this blonde-haired stranger, he would actually change. His appearance would always change, and all of a sudden, the other twin would disappear and reappear in Indian garments, and right in the tent, and they would stay. You right clearly in the dark. They would not speak. We were so terrified of them. We were scared. We tried to ask them who they were. They would not speak to us. There was other campers too in that tent that kind of also gave us a bit of a total scare. And so I'm just kind of going to share the outline of that on how powerful the story is. That this is why I said it is one of those camp legends nowadays that is way worse than sitting down reading a horror novel, or watching a horror movie. To actually hear a legend like that told around a campfire at 10 years of age,
9 years of age. It is lively spoken, and when it's lively spoken, doors get open, and doors from the past gets open, and that's when your past will try to haunt you the most. And also too, it gives you, it is like, it's almost like being in a Charles Dickens story, A Christmas Carol, where all these ghosts are all of a sudden popping out and kicking your ass around the campgrounds, chasing you around the campgrounds or through the woods. Like I said, also too, now there is some parts of Hunter's Cabin too, that I left some things out. I didn't want to get into much detail, but it also talks about, there is a lot also to Hunter's Cabin also goes into what you call, brings the revelations to life. So again, it is talking about a blood moon. It is talking also all through the legend. What scares you the most? It talks about a shadowing, dark chariots of fire, horseshoe sounds through the woods, and this ghostly chariot of fire you would actually see, would actually appear and vanish in the woods. So again, like I said, it is there's a lot of dark things you do see, and that kind of thing. Like I said, they're not as powerful. Yes, they are powerful, but they're not as powerful as they first came back to haunt. Again, now the hauntings, when I was there, it is just more disturbance and sounds than anything. But again, it is basically what you call tormenting sounds than anything, that you actually witness and hear. And especially if it's really, 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 really quiet, you can hear the ghost sounds and everything quite clearly. You can hear them talk. You can actually hear the dead talk. Believe it or not, you can hear the dead talk. Or if you've ever had any relatives or loved ones passed on you and that kind of thing, sometimes if it's really quiet and it's really dark, in the dark, and you're under dim light like this, sometimes it was really, really, really dark. Sometimes they'll try. Sometimes you can hear them calling out to you or talking to you. Now in different ways. Sometimes it'll be peaceful. Sometimes it won't be peaceful. Sometimes it'll be demonical. Sometimes it'll be very disturbing. Especially, sometimes if you're trying to sleep at night, it'll wake you up in the middle of the night. I've had that happen too several times. So you kind of wonder. So like again, it is one of those things you cannot. A lot of people are just brave enough to say, "Oh no, this ain't real, that ain't real." But they're the ones that, in the long run, if you really look at it, get their spiritual ass kicked. I can honestly say that they're the ones that get a spiritual hoof in the arse, by a spiritual identity. They're the ones that actually get spooked. The first ones to ever get spooked in the middle of the night, because they don't want to admit it, but they're the ones are the ones that get haunted the quickest. And then compared to the ones that have already experienced the hauntings. And yeah, it freaked you out at first. But some of these brave cats, they don't want to admit that they're seeing things. They do, but they don't admit it. They're too uppity and brave. But they're the ones that actually get the worst end of what they call the haunting of it all. That is also a storyline to a lot of these true legends and that kind of stuff. So in the end, they sink kind of down to your level. So, that's what I said. So, like summer camps are fun to go to and that kind of thing. But when it comes down to when they're cracking out the massacre horror stories, legends, those there are the spookiest part of the camp. That is the part of the camp that frightens you the most. And on how bad Hunter's Cabin is now, relating, there was a kid in my tent. I cannot reveal his name. He was a good friend of mine, and he actually, over that story that was told of Hunter's Cabin, he heard the same sounds that I did. I managed to get through my nightmares and overcome them, but he got so far scared over it,
he actually ran and jumped off a cliff and killed himself, committed suicide over that story. That is how, over that legend of Hunter's Cabin, that is how powerful and evil this legend is. I think this is why it didn't make the Hollywood box office, because they're afraid the box office ticket sales are going to go out and commit suicide. I'm not telling anybody to go do that or go ahead or go do stupid stuff like that, but this is how powerful of a tale that is. How powerful a legend Hunter's Cabin really is, based on a very, very true story. Coming from a true background. Now this is happening we're talking back in the 1700s, and it was always a good one. Like I said, today I can sit back and I can watch horror movies that don't bother me, but I've heard of campers also too going missing in reality because of this legend. This is why we're claiming this as being the last, even though this is a replicacy of a story that was told to me as a kid. You get away from there. No treats, that's it. I'm provoking your treats, I tell you. No more treats. No kitty treats. You're misbehaving, you get no treats. So, so again, like, it's... Again, I've also heard of tales at the camp where some kids have actually, it has affected a lot of the kid campers. Same year I went, and some of the kids actually ran off into the woods, and they were never seen again. Especially when they slept at the overnight as our cabin group at Hunter's Cabin. That's where they wandered off into the woods, and we've never seen them again. They disappeared. That Hunter's Cabin. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if of a paranormal, supernatural activity of some kind of legend that actually did happen. That today it still haunts and that kind of thing, and some spiritual activity still goes on. Somewhat, and it is, it is today. We still kind of still kind of wonder a little bit about that cabin. This is why I will not take you guys to the real cabin. I won't take you. Hey, leave stuff alone. The cats gonna pull stuff on the floor and break it. So again, hang on a second, guys. He is ruining everything, and he's gonna go in with his mother. Come on. You go spend time with Mama. Fran, I'm on a live stream. Watch it. Sorry about that, guys, and I'll have to fix stuff later. Whatever he pulled out, I don't know what he pulled out. So again, it is a hard legend. I haven't been camping since that legend. Shut up. On live. I put that as a joke. I'm not a mean person. I've never went camping ever since then. Since I was 9 or 10, I think I would never ever trust the woods again. Because that was one of the roughest ghost legends ever to hear, based on a true one as well. And then today you see a lot of paranormal activity groups. So it stops me as you kind of wonder what is real. So basically, we can't say if it is real or not. We really can't put a judgment on any of that. The way we have to look at it is if we believe that if in everyday society, if a lot of the church communities believe that God is really there and really exists, and God created man in His own image, whatever the way they go to put it, and that the fact that the devil was created also by him, that he was a fallen angel from heaven, and all his demons were whatever, then there is a possibility you can't say one exists and the other doesn't. Um, so technically, you can't sit there and they can't sit there and dictate and say heaven is real but hell isn't. Or they can't sit there and say, well, there's God but there's no devil. Because if there's a God, then there has to be a devil. There has to be, there has to be ghosts, entities, apparitions. Because if you really look at it, it is not something of God's work, but so you can't blame him for it. But it is more of, if you look at a spiritual point of view of anything, that there is a possibility that spiritually that when somebody passes on, their body, their spirit does leave their body and it doesn't go where it's ever supposed to go there. It depends what way their lifestyle was over their life, during their life here on earth. Basically all it boils down to it. If by any chance their spirit got trapped here between the spiritual transformation, and they never got to heaven, never got in between whatever they got left behind, then that's what causes a lot of spiritual identity or spiritual hauntings to happen, or poltergeistism. So that there is a possibility that apparitions, identities, ghosts, whatever, is possible of happening. Hauntings is possible of happening. So again, it is one of those things we can't say it is. We never ever can't say it is not real. So basically, that is what the paranormal investigators are trying to actually prove, try to scientifically test and prove. And they're succeeding too, because they are getting the evidence. As much as that other topic, I wasn't going to really get too much into, because I get into a lot of heavy detail. But if you look, so basically, if you look at the horse graphical of basically the Hunter's Cabin is based on a true story, then the hauntings of Hunter's Cabin is technically real, beyond fiction. Far as we know as of right now, that the hauntings still go on the Camp Northern Lights grounds and that kind of stuff too. So every time the story is told, something happens, or the apparitions happen. Now, last year during Hunter's Cabin, even during the replications, things have happened in here. There is, even though I was mimicking the voices of the two headless Indian headhunters in the fireplace, or bringing to life, the characters of Hunter's Cabin. A real apparition voice female did speak up, and this was right after my mother had passed away last year. And today I don't know if it is her or not. It is very hard to tell. It was very, very strong, very disturbing. Also during the night, there was sounds that were heard in here. Everything. This is probably why I'm back out in the living room to see if it's still here, or whatever. Because technically it comes and goes. Now I'm not going to go into much detail, but and at this point I'm not going to give any. I can't give out any names. But my older sister that is living in Oshawa is claiming that she is today being haunted by my mom. So, like I said, so far I'm not wishing anything. So far I've had some little Mickey Mouse hauntings of her, but I did not have anything as bad as she's getting. I think she's getting a whoop out. She's getting. I think my dead mother's is giving her a good opening can of whoop ass. Big time for some reason. Giving her the full haunting package.
So, so I don't know how bad really the situation is. Um, so the odd time she talks to me, the odd time she don't. She's been, of course, too. She's been up and down. She's been acting kind of funny lately too. So, very superstitious about everything. So, like I said, it is. I'm not getting any detail with that department right now. But and that kind of stuff. She's also getting haunted so bad to the point she won't trust any paranormal investigation team of any kind to actually step foot in her home or whatever to actually pick up a recording of anything. So again, like I said, that is very very interesting, very interesting, interesting stuff. I would love to actually myself figure out what she's actually experiencing, how bad she's experiencing it. I've experienced the voices, yes, but I have not experienced the actual the full poltergeist haunting or the demonic haunting of my mother. End of things. Now, just to just so everybody knows, I was even surprised. My friend in Peterborough was able to hold up after she had her funeral last summer, not this summer, but the last summer in 2017 in August. Which I didn't make it down to. I do apologize for that because I wanted to be there. But anyways, he did a memorial. I think he did more of a sacrilege than anything. I can honestly say that because he did an in memory mass of in memory of my mom, which I was grateful. In one sense, I'm grateful, but I think he broke the constitutional of his what is it, his his parish he belongs to, because he's Catholic, and I think he committed. I personally think that he's committed a sacrilege of a very big time kind. I personally spiritually believe that. Because anybody who ever grew up with me and those that may be following on here that live in Peterborough, that knowing me since I was a kid and knowing my mom, you do know that my mom was not a Catholic person. She was not a religious person. She was not a church-going person. She didn't believe in anything like that. She didn't believe in the Bible. She didn't believe in she didn't believe in anything. You couldn't talk to her. You couldn't talk to her about church. You couldn't talk to her about anything like that. Or she'd swear and curse at you, or she'd get very abusive with you, or violent with you. It was you sit down and shut up deal, or you kicked out of her home deal. But I, as a kid, took it upon myself because I chose, me personally as a kid, I chose to go to church when I was a kid, to Sunday school. I chose that on my own because I jumped the neighborhood bus on my own. I went on my own free will as a child. Nobody forced me to go. I always went on my own because the church bus was coming through picking everybody up. So I said, hey, we're going to jump the church bus and see what this is all this shit show's about. Of course they had candy. When we were kids, they had candy contests on the bus, everything. I think basically that's kind of what got us into going as kids, and the head minister of that church, I became good friends with him and his family. So they known me for years since I was a teeny from Grass High as a hospital. But in that time, coming by and visiting me on Saturday mornings when I was living at home, they did a little bit get to know my mom a bit. And which was kind of good, but she still wouldn't open up to anything. And she was like that up until I guess till the day she went, because she was not not a church fearing person. And for somebody like that, I personally have my doubts. Now I cannot say if she did go to heaven or she didn't. People can't really. I personally think people cannot really dictate that, especially if they really know what her real lifestyle was like. I mean, she lived a crazy lifestyle. She had problems, and nothing that I was ever at fault for. I always got blamed. As me growing up as a kid, some of the people she'd actually get in drinking with. Some of the people, she created her own problems at some point in time in life. And she had a bit of a crazy. She have to admit, she had a bit of a crazy lifestyle. She used to do things, that would upset other people, and But I have to get off that and always think about the good times. But I don't remember any really good times. I mean, there is a lot of things in her life she has done, has done, and especially there's things in violation of the law she's done too. I can't name those things that she's done, but again, like I said, she's somebody like that. You stop and question how, and when somebody goes like that, out of a spiritual belief of any kind, or a Christian belief of any kind, how can you assure that or have proof or evidence they would have went to heaven? You don't. But because if honestly, spiritually, the way I would look at it, and I was even I even sat down and I even had a chat with a psychic. Yes, I did the no on that one, but I was curious. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to admit, I was curious, and some of the things they did say was that is a negative report. That there is a possibility, there's no way if she was not a Bible Christian believing person she would ever get to heaven. Because there is a possibility when she's passed on. How is that possible if family members are experience haunting from her? I know I've funny things have happened to my phone line. For an example, and I'm starting to. I've always blamed creditors or whatever like that, and but I've got to learn that it wasn't creditors, and I thought it was apartment building kids playing with the buzzers or whatever. All these, ever since she passed on, and that last June, in 2017. Since then, I've been getting what you call spiritual haunting. My telephone lines are getting haunting phone calls, and some of the ones I cannot explain. My wife is answering them. She's freaking out over them. Some of them, because when the phone, it's like all of a sudden the phone will ring, and you pick up the phone and say hello. There's nobody on the other end. Nobody. It is a very quiet, dead silence at the other end. I've never known my mom's identity to ever be stolen. Now, there's another strange call I did get. I got a phone call after the phone call stating that my mom was deceased and they wanted to dispose of her, cremate her body and that kind of stuff. Ever since then, it all started after that, after June. Went all summer long, all the way to Halloween night. Constantly, every night, I was getting these haunting phone calls, and a woman called here, and Fran wasn't home. A woman called here, and she was claiming to be my mom. The birth date was she had the birth date correct. Everything, because I asked her questions. This is one of the spiritual haunting that I actually pulled. I think it was a spiritual haunting. I am not sure. Devilish type haunting. And I answered the phone, And I said, hello. And she acted all like my mom did when I was growing up. And she kept saying, Timmy, I love you, Timmy. This kind of stuff. And I know it's not a girlfriend, not a girlfriend. My wife would shoot me if I ever got those calls. I'm just capping here. Replicacy will be dripping with blood. We're not gonna go that far, but and then she kept saying, she started crying on the other end, saying, "Oh, you hate me," this kind of crap, And this was after after I got the confirmation that my mom passed away, and I kept saying, "Who is this?" And they kept saying, "Oh, it's mom. It's mom," and I'm like, okay. I said, this is weird. I said, sorry. I said, sorry, ma'am. I don't believe you. I said, because I said my mom died in June of 2017, and then she said her name. Then she used my mom's name, and I started freaking out big time. I totally freaked out, and I called the OPP for information, and they checked, and they were trying their best to check into it, but they never did catch up with this anonymous caller. They even said that this anonymous caller doesn't exist. So this is what kind of freaking me out, because it only seems when my wife is out for an evening at her mom's place and that kind of thing, and I don't believe those kind of phone calls. I swear I don't. After my mom's been deceased now for 2 years, and this is right after her death date, which was June 22nd, and she died at 1:00 in the afternoon of 2017, and ever since that day it was, and then oh man, I tell you, this woman was pissing me off. Whoever it was, I can't say if it was a physical human being. I don't know if it was an alien or whatever, but it was calling. I can say it spiritually or paranormally. It was calling here, pretending to be my mother, and it was totally pissing me off. And saying, "Oh, don't put me in the cremation oven. Don't put my body in the cremation oven. Don't put my body in the cremation oven." Like going nuts, and I'm like, I'm like, "Ma'am, I don't know who you are." Okay, I'm like, "Don't call here again." And I said, "You're impersonating." I said, "You're hurting me basically more so, and you're gonna hurt my older sister because you're calling here pretending you're my mother." And I started asking her questions, what her name was, and she kept giving my mom's name, and she had her birthday correct, everything, and we tried finding a human being to see if this caller was traceable. We tried everything with the phone company, everything. It wasn't. The call was not traceable. And I even called the operator. I called everybody. I called the operator, and I said, I wanted to, and then when Frank came home, I said, I want to get this checked out. I said, the woman called here. And I told her everything about it. And she called the operator. The operator said, no, they said it is, we don't know where the call is coming from. We can't trace it. But, and I kept asking, like, you would spiritually ask the ghost to, if in case of a ghost in your haunting in your home. And I asked, I said, okay. I said, what's your telephone number? She gave my mom's telephone number that she said she was calling from. And apparently she gave my mom's address. So, like I said, and she was pretending to be my mother, which was freaking me I frick out. I could put that in Irish. So this is what I said. I cannot say if these hauntings, I cannot say spiritually if these things exist, if they do, if they don't. There's a possibility they do. There's scientific proof that they do. So again, like I said, this is one of the things even today. Now they unfortunately they were happening all through this year too. Like I said, this has been ongoing since my mom died, and nonstop, or every night, and or mostly every day. So far, it has calmed down. It calms down for a while, but then when we get closer to Halloween, it starts up again. But also too, after receiving a call like that, when we came into Halloween of last year,
there has been spiritual movement in here. The doors have been opening, everything. You know, the front doorway coming in from the hallway actually opened itself, and I thought somebody tried breaking in. And I was here by myself, and when we even and so I mean, like, this all started after 2017, and you know, I checked the doorway and everything, and it was I've been finding, you know, there was you know, it was open a crack because it looked like somebody pried the door open, but there was nobody in the hallway, or there was nobody in the house, and so I closed the door, locked it up. I come home a couple times. I have actually come home a couple times, and my wife hasn't been home, and I've come home a couple times and my door's been all locked, and after I've locked it. So I said there's a lot of spooky, a lot of weird stuff that really happens. And my cat Atreyu, this is so funny. Even the last few nights I've seen movement. So I'm glad I moved everything back into the living room so I can catch this thing out here. Whatever it is. A couple times I found Atreyu, he'd laughing at me, whatever, he's walking around happy to go lucky. But a couple times I found my cat Atreyu actually up on the door, up on sitting on top of the door. And it was like something just flew across the room and picked him up and threw him up on top of the doorway. And I was sleeping, and all I heard this noise, and then poof, it startled me, and then poof, there's Atreyu up on the door. And you know, and it wasn't, and I thought it was caused by him jumping. No, he as much as he jumped, he didn't jump. There was something spiritually in the room that picked him up and put him up on the top of the door. You know, something spiritually I have to say, something did spiritually put him there. Because again, it is kind of funny. Because also when I was set up in the other room for my studio, there was a couple times he was out here in the living room and the door was closed, and all of a sudden he come walking out from underneath my table. I mean, poof, Alakazam, abracadabra, poof, there he is. So again, so again, we were kind of monitoring basically now me being back out here in the big studio area, big living room area like we were last year, last Halloween. This way we can actually detect what is in here, if it is her, you know, or even if the phone call was really coming from the other side, or if you want to call it from the dark side, or if it was a spiritual, telephone, if it was actually a real apparition phoning. The apparition on my mother actually phoning to the telephone lines, because I remember before she died, she used to phone all the time to this number, and every day, and she always had this telephone number, and that kind of thing, because we live so far away, and she'd call it every day to talk to me since Fran and I moved out here, and after I heard she passed on and that kind of thing, and even now she's passed on, even knowing death, I think her spirit is still haunting our phone lines for some reason. So this is what I'm kind of trying to detect on how this is, if it really is spiritually her, or the actual apparition, dead apparition that has left her body or whatever it is that's haunting the place or haunting me and my sister, if it's a real haunting of it, or if it is just a woman trying to steal her have stolen her identity or whatever somehow, and somehow has found information on whereabouts I am and that kind of thing, and is causing a hacking. So like I said, it is going into what you call, I'm going to file that under what you call paranormal investigation, because it's going to turn out to be an actual, I want to find out, and if it is really catch the real apparition of it. Yeah, because her spirit can actually be in this room, and an apparition could have moved around, and you know, when Fran wasn't home, you know, her ghost, or the ghost of her apparition could have floated from the living room, and the call could have been coming from my own house, from my own home. It could have been really her spiritually, her dead spirit. Um, you know, like again, the haunting of it all. It could have been an actual within the home job. So again, like Fran wasn't out, was home was out, and my mom's spirit could be here haunting me today. Has been haunting me, and is probably the ghost has probably moved. Her apparition's probably moved from this room to the other room because we got two phones, and in the house, and her apparition probably floated into Fran's room and somehow picked up Fran's got a hold of Fran's phone somehow, and made this phone ring from the other phone, and with technology you can do it. Even a ghost or an apparition can do it. And I think that is where those calls have been coming from. It's been coming from spiritually. It's been coming from inside this home. So again, like I said, this is why I'm calling it. As much as I do want to put this spiritual tool on Facebook, if I do, I don't want to face any hard judgment. I got a reason to put it on here. I don't want to face any hard judgment or any haters of any kind. If I put it on here, it is for Ghost Communications. It's for a reason, to catch whatever's in here. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure I'm going to play it smart. I'm going to actually bring a bunch of other people in here, and I'm actually going to if I can, I kind of try to see if I can actually bring an actual real life psychic in here, to see if it is really my mom's apparition that's floating around in here, very demonically and strong, that's making these phone calls from my actual own home line, or when I'm asleep, my mom's apparition is playing on my cell phone and ringing through my house line, and I'm answering the house line when Fran's not here, and the voice of the apparition is coming through the phone line. At first, I thought it was just a bunch of kids playing with the buzzer downstairs, because it was so quiet. So again, it is. So this is why I've put Fran in the other room. So spiritually, I'm actually gonna bring a spiritual team in here, and we're actually gonna catch whatever's in this apartment. Spiritually, I have advised them. If they come to visit me, they cannot intercept any of the hallways. Behind this door in my apartment, they can, but they cannot go outside of the apartment. Talking about telephones, now that freaked me out. So if they come in as my company, if I bring them in as my company, again, they have to, they can only ghost communicate inside my apartment here. That because I'm giving them permission to do that, because I pay rent to live here. But they cannot go outside the hallway doors, or go through the hallways, or up the stairs, or up to in front of other people's apartments. They've already advised for that. They're basically coming over as coffee company, for a cup of coffee or whatever like that. But they, okay, you gave them hack, zip it. I'm trying to talk, please. Thank you. I don't like the disruptions. So again, it is. They're going to a lot of the coffee. It's going to be a coffee meeting together, or get together. Again, but it is going to be only. I wish they don't do it on my brother's coffee table. I don't. Other than that, I don't have another study table. But again, I would have to bring. Again, we would bring them in as my coffee customer. Coffee company. Just as visitors, but they cannot have anything to do. They cannot actually scan through the hallways. They can't scan up the stairs or through the other hallways and that kind of thing. With it being an actual historical building of itself, because that is the owner's domain. they can only come in as just my company to visit, and they have to stay within behind my apartment doors inside my own apartment. So again, he misbehaves out here. So again, if I do that, Ghost Communications, that is what we're planning for it'll be probably before Devil's Night or around closer to Halloween, if we can do that. You're ruining my live spooky stream. Learn to do stuff in the dark, please. I like bugging her. So again, the guess is not that bright. And so again, that they're advised that if they're coming to visit me and they're doing an actual live ghost scan, they have to do it in this apartment. They cannot do it in the hallways. They cannot do it up the stairs or in front of other people's hallways or doorways. That kind of stuff. So he's strictly going to be just be on the side of the door of our apartment, in our own apartment. So that way I don't get into any crap holy. But you disrupt my stream for a Pepsi.
I am trying to give you Casper treats that way he can calm the down.
Okay, don't swear because I am on live. Or you'll be paying me your last $50 to my Square
No.
box.
Eat it, quiet, be good for Daddy.
He won't listen.
Because you're getting into stuff in my room.
So he's getting into stuff out here too. And my stuff is breakable. And if
So
it's
am
broken, my stuff, I'm gonna demand it gets replaced.
So would I?
You be the one fucking money out, man. Just kidding. So again, it would taste better with ice cubes. Behave. Lay down. Or eat your treats, please. So again, that's basically a little bit of an update on what we're gonna do to solve this ghost line haunting nonsense going on. For starts, and we're gonna nail the either spiritual or non-spiritual woman that's calling here, pretending to be my mother. So again, so again, like I said, we've got a lot of plans for this year's Haunted Hunter's Cabin. But again, this is gonna be the last final year. Now, I'm not saying that over the next, after Hunter's Cabin, Haunted House is over this year, that this is gonna keep up. The haunting telephone calls probably will. If it is really an apparition of any kind, if it is really of my mom's apparition, spiritual apparition that's doing it, and I'm being haunted like she promised. So again, right now the phone's been quiet. We got the busy tone going, but again, like I said, so far, we've experienced some of these haunted phone calls that have been coming through, and I kind of like I said that this apparition apparently pretending to be my mom or whatever. And to me, I can't say if it's an apparition. Some people would actually think it's some woman that stole her identity somehow. A lookalike of her that stole her identity, or got a hold of her identity, or anything. That possibility that it's got counterfeit identification that knew her name or whatever, somebody she knew at one time or whatever, pretending to be her. So I'm keeping on top of all that. You behave behind there. So we're gonna get all that. We want to get that. We want to get that all checked out, and so that way when Actually, other people like call, like my actual friends call here. They can call through here peacefully, without going, hey, get down. This is why I don't want you out here when I'm on a live stream, at all. Down. You get your treats and you act like a jerk. Man, I wish I was that smart. But yeah, so again, like I said, my cat is getting a little hyper right now, and that. So again, like I said, we want to see it was we want to spiritually test all this and see if it is really my mom, an apparition of my mom or whatever, deceased mother or whatever. If it is, then we move forward. Get down, please. Behave. If it is, we will move forward with spiritual communications, and we're going to ask it why it is still here, why she's here. If it is fact, if it is her spiritually, then you're going to have to go in that room. I'm sorry, but I'm not having you out here. I'm being disrupted too much, and this is being very disrespectful to my shows, and I don't want you to see you out here. I love him, but he is annoying at times. He is a cutie. He just likes to get into stuff, and he likes to throw stuff on the floor. And like I said, it is. I cannot have stuff I can't have my stuff that I worked hard, and that kind of stuff. Worked hard to buy, and that kind of thing. Because it's stuff that's gonna last me a long time. But I just barely got the electric fireplace back working. But it's okay. I keep on top of my little guy. I make sure he doesn't break anything. He's fananized. I'm sorry, but he's just so fananized by these dummies. I don't know what it is. He's like loving up to them or something. But if we find out that it really isn't my mom's operation and it's really haunting me, then we can go forward. We're gonna go forward with more supernatural, paranormal investigation. If it is some woman that is living in Peterborough, that's calling here, that's doing it, that has stolen my mom's information, that kind of thing when she passed on, that somehow got a hold of address books or whatever, or got a hold of something that was in my mom's apartment, that I had her telephone number on it or whatever. Because my mom was a type of woman, she kept all that, and so again, she kept all that information for Christmas times, for Christmas cards, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know even if the apartment was re-rented out and some of that was founded. I know my older sister cleaned out the apartment, but there's probably nooks and crannies. Things were probably shoved into areas probably my older sister didn't see, and so it could have been our address or whatever, or phone number. Fran and I's address and phone number was probably shoved in the apartment somewhere in the nooks and crannies, in somewhere, hidden in the nooks and cranny of it. And if the new people that rented the apartment found it or whatever, it could be their bunch or whatever doing it. I'm not saying it is. I don't know if it's a real haunting or apparition of my mom, spiritually, or if it is, if it's just a spiritual aberration of her, or really for sure, or if it is, if it is like a hack con job, and that. So again, So again, like I said, we're gonna go further, and we're going to see if there needs to be a spiritual investigation. But first, I want to find out if it is really my dead mother's apparition that is floating out. Because if it is, if she's able to haunt me and she's able to haunt my older sister, can you please keep it down? I'm on live. Again, for the fourth time, you're disrupting my live stream. I'm getting very upset with that. It's very disrespectful. You shouldn't be able to hear you through that door. And so again, like I said, that is going to we're going to put that into the works if we can. And that so what we gotta find again. I'd like to find out for sure first what's actually going on spiritually here, and that so like I said, we're not gonna run away from it. Like I said to my wife, to my wife, that is being all those disruptive noises. We're not gonna run away from it. We're not going to be like most of those that will flee and run away from it. We're gonna try to tolerate it as possible. How long it goes for? I don't let him out here because I do not want him out here.
Well, I don't want him in my room.
Well, I can't have him out here because he's going on the TV. He almost had the TV on the floor. I'm on a live stream.
Hurry up with it.
Don't rush my shows. Thank you very much. Sorry for the disruptions. I seem to be getting a little rude right now because people keep disrupting me, and I cannot have that. And that it's just irritating me too much. So again, like I said, we're just gonna find out basically where that's all coming from, and then once we do, we'll keep you updated and that kind of stuff. So like I said, we have two choices. We can do this. We'll probably do the ghost communications probably without being on live, or if we do go on live, we do not want no rude feedbacks or rude comments, and any hating going on because of a certain spiritual tool. Like I said, we're bringing it on for a reason, and that kind of stuff. If we do during the October season, to communicate to see what is actually haunting here. And so anyhow, since everybody's trying to rush my live feed, which I do not like, I'm really relaxed now. I'm trying to stay calm and that kind of thing. And it is I'm always being disrupted and distracted and that kind of stuff, because people like I said, that is a form of disrespecting my shows. And like I said, please respect my shows. Do not disrespect them in any way. That even goes, basically that same thing goes for people at this end of the camera. So again, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we're live here in Hunter's Cabin, and this is going public. And because I'm gonna take a bit of a night break, probably tomorrow night. And I am actually going to take that time to actually get it all what I need to get up on YouTube and get it on Dashboard Twitch TV. So anyhow, thank you. We were live here in Spooky Hunter's Cabin, and I hope everybody has a great night. And this was your Jokers on Duty. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.